Hakadosh Boker Or are doing Daf Yomi. Masechet Batra Daf Hechal Aleph 78a1. You're on the Mishnah. But the Mishnah says, "Amocheret chamor." The person's going to come and he's going to sell a chamor. Lo macharet kalav. You do not come and you do not sell the utensils that come with the chamor. Okay? We're on the Mishnah. Nachum Amadi Omer. Nachum Amadi comes and he says, "Machar kalav." You do sell the utensils, right, which come with the chamor. Rabbi Yehuda comes and he says, "Pe'amim mechurim, pe'amim lo mechurim." No, sometimes yes, sometimes no. So this is very, very interesting because until now we had different mishnayot that it was certain utensils yes, certain utensils no, but here it's complete black or white, yes or no, or things like that. So again, first shita Tanakama comes and he says you didn't sell it. Second shita Nachum says yes. Rabbi Yehuda comes and says depends, sometimes yes, sometimes no. Kate said, what's the case? So he says, "Ayah hamor lefanav v'kelev alav." Whenever you have the chamon in front of you and you have the utensils there, and he tells them, so then it is sold. But if he says, right, sell me your chamor, then no, why? Because it wasn't there, it wasn't together. So therefore it's not going to be sold, right, whatsoever. Just a chamor and all the kelim. Yeah? Okay. Yeah, fine. Okay. Amar Ula. Ula comes and he says, Machloket besak v'diskia v'chumni. So says the machloket between Tanakama and Nachum Amadi is going to be to do with the sak and diskia and kumni. The sak is like bags. Diskia is going to be the amtachat, right? And which is going to be also a place where they keep things. The kumni is also going to be the ukaf. This is where the women, it's like a saddle. Okay, so all these kelim are miuad, they're designated for carrying things. The Tanakama comes and he says, Tam chamor lirkovkai. The stam hamor, right? You're there to come and to sit on it, to stand on it, right? Meaning not to carry things on it, rather to use it. No, it's to carry things on it. But the mukaf kilkeli v'chabak. These are different things to do with the saddle. They put on underneath the saddle, or they put on the stomach, right? Or the different straps that they strap it on. According to everybody, it's going to be sold. Okay, fine. Meitvei. So we're going to ask the following question. Hamor v'kelav ani mochel lecha. Imagine comes a guy and he says, I'm selling you the hamor with the kelim. Right? So he sold these things. So the saddle, right? The thing which goes underneath the saddle, the straps, whether it goes on the chest or on the stomach. But not the bags or the utensils that you would use to carry things. But now if he comes and he tells him, so this we already learned many mishnayot already. If you say the chamor and everything which is on it, everything's going to be sold. Tama, the reasoning why is the Elmaleh chamor v'kelav, because he said the chamor and the kelim, hudikani, right? And therefore he's going to acquire the ukaf and midat. Halo malachi, but if he didn't tell him that, no. So then you don't say that. Yeah. So says the Gemara, yeah. Even if you didn't say the chamor the kelim, nami the ukaf and midat are always going to be sold. Okay, so then what? He says, right? The mardat is like they used to put underneath the saddle, like a type of like a blanket type of thing. So he says that Kamashmalan comes to teach you, right? Amaleh, the Africa of the Amaleh, that even though he came and he told them, chamor v'kelav, sak v'diskia, v'chumni lo kani. You didn't acquire these things yet. My kumni, what exactly is kumni? Okay, so he says over here, yeah, what exactly is this kumni? We said that it was for the women. So I don't know. I guess it's a special saddle, right? That was for the women. The Gemara is going to explain now. Amar of Papa. Rav Papa says, by Shmuel, yeah, he says here, Merkavta denashe. It's for the women. It's only open from one side. Yeah, exactly. Okay, fine. And this is everybody was doing that. What? Meaning the women wouldn't come with their legs spread out. Right? It's called Amazon? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, no, we learned this already, but I'm saying the concept is I didn't know it was called Amazon. But basically, what's happening is that instead of like this, split legs, they go on the side, meaning their legs are together and sitting on the side, and it's closed on all the other sides. Ibailehu. So they're going to ask the following question. Ein chet. Again? Hello? Ein chet. Yeah, ein chet amudal. Yeah, Ibailehu. So they're going to ask the following question. Beodan alav machloket, aval b'she'en alav modelu nachum amadi, או דילמה בשאין עליו מחלוקת, אבל בעודן עליו מודד לרבנן לנחום. The question is like this. When is exactly the machloket? Are you going to tell me now that if the things are on the animal, meaning these utensils are on an animal, that is the machloket, right? Whether they're included in the sale or not. But if they're not on the animal, modelehu nechum amadi to the chachamim, that means they're going to agree to the chachamim that it's not going to be sold. Or maybe the exact opposite. When they're not on the animal, that is when there's a machloket. But if they're on the animal, the Rabbanan or Modim to Nachum Avdida, they are sold. That's the question. So we have to find out. So Tashema, let's try to bring a proof. Bizman Shamalo, if he told him, Hu v'chol shelav, whenever the guy comes, I'm selling you the hamor and everything that's on the hamor. Yeah? So he comes and he says, right? Hu v'chol shelav, everything's sold. If you're going to tell me that if it's there, it's a machloket, Hamani, who is it? It's a banani. But if you're going to tell me that it's not on it and it's still a machloket, so then Beodan alav, it's according to everybody. So who Amani? So then who's our Mishnah? Then who's the Braita then? Who would be the Braita? Meaning we're trying to find out who's this Braita. The Braita says, Bizman Shamal Lohu v'chol ma she'alav kulam mechurim. Everything's sold. Now 1 second. If you're going to tell me that if it's on it, and still that's a machloket, so then fine. So our Mishnah, this Braita that says, Bizman shu alav, hu v'chol ma she'alav, right? And he said, hu v'chol ma she'alav, that's Rabbanan. But if you're going to tell me that when it's on it, right? Oh, sorry, when it's not on it, still the machloket. But if it's on it, it's according to everybody. So who's this Braita? Obviously, it's according to everybody. So he says, Leolam really be'emet, b'she'en odan alav, if it's not on it, it is a machloket. And it's still Rabbanan. It has to be something which is fitting for it to put on it. And then it's going to be sold. Meaning, only things which are fitting to be on the donkey are going to be sold with a donkey. Something which is not fitting. Meaning, Sam, if you've got something there, right, you're carrying something there. It's not designated for it. So then it's not going to be sold with it. Because at the end of the day, it's a different case. Huh? So it says the Gemara Tashma, we're going to try to bring down another proof. Rabbi Yehuda comes and he says, if you remember, we said it was a three-way machloket. We had Tanakama, right, that it's never going to be sold. We had the second shita Nachum Madi that it is going to be sold. And Rabbi Yehuda made it like a pshara. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. So he says like this. He says, my love, are we not talking about Ramai Kama Tanakama Kai Rabbi Yehuda? They're talking about the same case. Meaning, it's not mashma that we're dealing with different cases, right? If there's a three-way machloket in the Mishnah, right? Yes, when you sell it, it's no, yes, and sometimes yes, sometimes no. They're probably talking about the same case. So he comes and he says, no. Rabbi Yehuda, really be'emet Rabbi Yehuda in Chet Amubet, he has 70b. Min tachrita kama. He's talking about something completely different, which means like this. Rabbi Yehuda is talking about a case where the kelim are on the chamor during the time of the mechida, during the time of the sale, and has nothing to do with the case of the Tanakama and Menachum Amadi. But he says you have to actually understand it like this. Tanakama and Menachum Amadi are arguing be'emet to do with kelim that are not on the chamor. And therefore we have the question, okay, what about if they're on the chamor? According to everybody, it should be sold. So he says on this, Rabbi Yehuda comes and he argues and he says that even in a case where the kelim are on the chamor, sometimes it's not sold. When is that? When he says chamor chazeh, this chamor. When he uses the terminology, this chamor, it does not include all of the things which are on the chamor. Okay, so Amale Ravina Ravashi says Ravina to Ravashi. Yeah, Tashema, we're going to try to bring another proof now. Macharet karon, right? If you remember, we spoke about what happens if you sold the carriage, right? The caravan. Lo macharet pradot, so you didn't sell the mules. The Tanya Chadolim Kamed Rav Yavu. Macharet karon, you did sell it. Famalin, he said, Vanantab, we said that you don't sell it. Famalin, he says, Isme, which means, right, what? You skipped out the Girsa the Braita? Famalin, he says, no. Tetargem matnitach badukimbo. We said that it's tied, it's attached together. Right? Mikal the matniti meshena dukimbo, right? So it's mashma at the beginning. We're not talking about a dukimbo, which means like this. I'm going to ask you this. If I'm buying the chariot or the caravan, and it's attached, so therefore it's a completely different concept. For example, do you know that they attach things on the bicycle for children? And sometimes it's no. You're talking about tricycles. I'm not talking about tricycle, right? We're talking about they attaching it, and it's like a little tiny car type of a thing with wheels, and you're riding the bike, and the child is inside that little tiny hut, and he's got like a little tiny thing, a zipper, and against the sun, there's the sun shade and everything that you want. Now, if you're gonna buy that by itself, that's one thing, right? But what happens if you're buying the bike and it's attached to the bike? So therefore, he wants to say, one second, if you're buying that, how do you call this? I don't know what to call it, the little transport for the kid, right? So maybe the bike is included. So he wants to say that there was a difference between it's adukimbo or it's not adukimbo. Meaning, if the animal is already attached to the caravan, attached to the chariot, it's going to be one thing. But what about not? So he says, since the Reisha is talking about that it's not on it, which means the pradot are not connected to the karon. So the Seifa also is talking about where it's not on it. So says the Gemara, Adraba. It's not true. The exact opposite. He says, why? Ima Reisha. Let's see the Reisha. The Reisha says, Lo machal lo et avadim lo et. You remember we learned in a previous Mishnah. These are all Mishnayot. So we started with that if you're going to sell, right, a house, and you're going to sell a caravan, and you're going to sell a boat, and then you're going to sell, right, so each Mishnah, right, is different. So now we said over there that if you're going to sell the boat, you didn't sell the avadim and the tiki and all these things, whether it's the ones that are guiding the boats or the ones which are the bags which are used for the transports, which are used for the merchandise. So he says, we said, what is antiki? Papa iske de vaga. Right? Again, this is talking about the schora. The schora, which is inside the boat, is not going to be included. Now he says, one second. From the Reisha, if it's Odan Alav, so to the Sefer is also Odan Alav. Elatana, mile mile ktani. But rather, it's not the same thing. Meaning, when I'm going to come and I'm going to buy a boat, I'm never going to think. Imagine right now I'm going to buy your car, and you just went to Publix, so you have things that you just bought from Publix. Do I have a Havamina that it's included in the sale? It's not included in the sale. I just went to Publix. I've got a few bags, right? It's not included in the sale. Okay? So therefore, obviously, in such a case, it's going to be different. So says the Gemara, Siman Zagam Nasan. Okay, let's pay attention. Amar Bilazar, says Bilazar, Shimon Gamaliel, Rashbag, Rabbi Mi, Rabbi Natan, Subhos, Nahom Amari, Kulehu, Sevira Lehu. Everybody agrees. When you sell something, you're selling it with all the tashmishim. You're selling it. Okay? So let's see. Let's start. Rabbi Eliezer, we already learned it above. Rabbi Eliezer says if you're going to sell the betabad, which is where the press, right? We're talking about the betabad for the oil press. Macharet korah, you sold the korah, which is used for it. Shimon Gamliel. The Shvag says, you sold the city. You sold the city center. Or whether it's going to be, what is the santar? Is the santar? Is it going to be the one which is in charge of the lien, not the liens, the properties, how did you call it? I forgot. When you write it into the titles, the deeds. That's a better word. Thank you. The deeds. Okay. The Rabbi Min comes and he says, it's Rabbi Min Omer, you sold the vineyard, you sold the Tashmisha vineyard. You sold the boat, you sold the bitzit and the dugit. Right? Again, this is whether it's going to be the small boat which is coming with it. Many times they used to have a small boat right beside it and everything. Nachum Amadi is that which we just mentioned now. So Rabbi Yehuda comes and he says, "Pamim mechurim, pamim lo mechurim. Ma'ishna chamorcha zo, ma'ishna chamorcha hu." What's the difference between this chamor and the chamor? Samar Rava says, "Chamorcha zo yada dechamar didehu." He knows that this is his chamor. Why did he say zo? Mishum kelav. Then he's talking about the kelim as well. Chamorcha hu, the lo yada. He doesn't even know if it's his, and therefore the fact that he said hu is if it's yours, are you going to sell it to me? So it had nothing to do with the extra to be mitkaven to the kelim as well. So that's going to be the difference between them. Okay? Fine. So chamorcha zo, he already knows. Yes, that's the kelim. Okay? But if he's, who? He's asking, is it yours? And if it's going to be yours, right, then you're going to come and you're going to do it. Yeah? So now he comes and he says like this. What did you say? There's a Mishnah on Masechet Mubet, 78b Mishnah. Mocheret HaChamor. Yeah, again we're selling the Hamor. Yeah, Macharet HaSiyach. You also sold the Ben HaChamor. Macharet HaPara, right? No, here it says the Ben HaChamor. He says Macharet HaPara, lo Macharet Bena. Yeah, the Gemara is going to explain the difference between them. Obviously, we're going to see now. No, one second. Yeah, Machar Ashpa. If you're going to come and you're going to sell the ashpa, what is ashpa? Obviously, the where you put the fertilizer. Okay, machar zivla, so you sold the fertilizer as well, right? Because the first person was the place of the fertilizer. Machar bor, machar memea, you sold the pit, you sold the water in the pit. Machar kaveret, if you sold the beehive, machar advorim, you sold the bees. Machar shovach, machar yonim, if you sold the chicken coop, you sold the yonim as well. Says the Gemara. Yeah, echidami. What's the case exactly? If you come and you say that it's it and its child, so afilu para ubna nami. One second. If you come and you say I'm buying the chamor and the child, so what's the difference between I'm buying the chamor and the child, or buying the para and the child? It should always be included. Because if you said hi ubna, so it's including everything. What do you mean it's out? Yeah. Now, if you're going to come me now that he didn't say hi ubna, so afilu chamor nami lo, so even the chamor should not be. Meaning, what's the difference between the chamor and the para? There should be no difference. Rav Papa says, no. The Elmaleh, that he came and he told them, the mocher told the lokeach, chamor menika ani mocher lecha, or para menika ani mocher lecha. I'm selling you a chamor which is menika, or a para which is menika. So therefore, that's the difference between them, whether it's including the child or not. Meaning, if you just say stam chamor or para, it's not including anything. Not the ben chamor and not the ben. Yeah, exactly. Nothing to do with it. But he says like this. So bishma para. I understand by the para. Ika lemeimar. I could say, why did he say para minika? The chalava for the chalav baile. So therefore, you need it for the chalav. And therefore, right, when he came and he told him para minika, right, because if it's not going to be chalav, it's going to be mekach taut. So therefore, there's no proof that he had kavana for the child as well, right? Woman, what does that mean? Right? At the end of the day, I wanted the milk. What do I care about the child? Meaning, when I came and I told you about the para, I think, it's got milk. What if it doesn't have milk? Give it back. He says, but the hamor, which anyway is a be'emat me'ah, and therefore you don't need that milk. Because at the end of the day, you're not going to drink that milk. So what is he telling them? Imagine I'm going to sell you a hamor. Do I have a havamina that you're going to drink the milk? No. So you're not going to drink the milk. So why in the world am I saying it? So what am I telling you? Meaning, why am I coming and telling you that it's got milk? So shema mina hiubna kamale. When I come and I tell you that it's got milk, hakavana, I'm selling the child with it because that's the purpose with it. Okay. So says the Gemara, ve'amai karulei. So he says, why is it called a siach, a ben achamor? Shemealech achar sicha na'ah. What does that mean? You go after rimazim, benachat, right? And not like the chamor mevugar that you need mardea. What does that mean? The older you get, the more of the stick you need. Yeah? So, right? Amavini avini. Yeah? What does that mean? That the more the hamor, he needs the mardea. Yeah, exactly. The siyach, since he's kolkach tzayid, he's tzayid, sichana. All you have to do is speak to it nicely. Don't need anything else. You speak to it nicely, and that's all that you need. Okay? Fine. Amar Shmuel bar Nachmani. So Gemara mefureshet. Yeah? Says Shmuel bar Nachman, right? Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Says, yeah, okay. Yeah, he says Rav Shmuel bar Nachman in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. He says over here, what does it mean in the pasuk? Al ken yomru moshelim bo cheshbon. This is a famous Gemara in Batra, by the way. Right? Al ken yomru moshelim bo cheshbon tibane v'tikonen ir sichon. Hamoshelim is very apropos to Elul. Yeah? Hamoshlim. Elu hamoshlim beitzram. These are the ones that they control the Eretz Yirah. Bo cheshbon. You're going to have to come to do a cheshbon on everything that you do. Some people, they don't even realize. Right? And then what happens is they come, no, what did you do this? No, I didn't do this. It's a cheshbon. Why didn't you come to shiur? Why didn't you come to Sudat Shlishit? Why didn't you eat Sudat Shabbat? Right? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? You understand? חשבונות. בואו ונחשוב חשבונו של עולם. הפסד מצווה כנגד שכרה, שכר עבירה כנגד הפסדה. Right? There's always going to be. There's a loss and there's a gain. Right? Was the gain more than the loss? So a lot of people are going to tell you, yeah. יצרה. No. תיבנה ותיכונן. אם אתה עושה כן, תיבנה בעולם הזה ותיכונן לעולם הבא. Then you're going to build in this world. You're going to be able to have the world to come. עיר שיחון, אם משים אדם עצמו כעיר. Right? If you're going to make yourself like a siach, right? כעיר. Right? That's what he says. זה שמהלך אחר שיחה נאה. Which means he's moshel, that he's not going to be moshel b'yitzro, but rather he's mitpatze achar ha'yetzer hara. That's the sichana also, the sichon, that he went after the sicha. Maktiv acharav, what was written, ki esh yatzeh mecheshbon. Don't think that there's no fire. There's going to be fire of Gehinam. And the fire of Gehinam, tetzeh esh, right, mimechashvin, the esh will come out from the chashvin, which are the tzadikim, the tochal shem chashvin, and it's going to destroy the other ones. Ve'le'ava mikriyat sichon, and it'll come from Mikriyat Tzadikim, which are called Sichon, which are the Sichin, which are the Ilanot, Achlar Moav, and it's going to destroy. He's going after his Yetzirah, like just like the Sichana. Baaleh Bamot are known for the Gasei Ruach. Tamar More says, Kol Adam Sheish Bo Gasut Ruach, Nofel V'Gehinam. Anybody that's haughty, yeah, anybody that is haughty, Nofel V'Gehinam, he will fall right into the firmament, right? He will fall into Gehinam, into hell. Vaniram. What is Vaniram? Amar Rasha en Ram. So what do you mean en Ram? He says Vaniram is en Ram. So the Rasha is Kofer. Saying there's nobody, there's no HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Avad Cheshbon. What does it mean? Avad Cheshbon Shalom. He says en Dim ven Dayan. Ad Divon. What does that mean? Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hamten ad sheyavod din. Divon here is the din. Wait until the din comes. Vanashim ad nofach. What is Vanashim? Ad shetavo esh. Until the fire will come, right? And it says, shenet sicha nipuach, right? You don't even need nofach, right? You don't even need nipuach. Ad medeva shetadiv, until the neshama is going to suffer, or until they're going to have what they need to have in the olam haba. Which means that HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes and he says, the entire thing, I don't know if you realize, was like a play on words. Each one was taking every single word and was using it in a different fashion in the pashtut, obviously, but it was obviously coming to explain to us the derech drush. We have to give din v'cheshbon. Don't ever think that this is a olam hefker. If a person thinks that this is a olam hefker, he's in big trouble, because he's going to realize there's no olam hefker. Everything goes around. What goes around comes around. Don't worry about it. It's going to be there. That's the way the world is.